Good morning. We've got new information regarding the most recent federal funds rate hike, the latest reports from Case Shiller and FHFA on home values, updates on home buyer demand, as well as the jobs market and record unemployment. Let's begin to dig in and let's get to the bottom line. Good morning, everyone. We've got a bunch of new information to go over with you today. So, as always, let's go ahead and get started with our weekly staples. To begin, we're going to take a look at home buyer demand and the most recent reports regarding this and purchase applications. And we saw purchase applications sink 10.3% week over week for loans with a conforming loan balance. And now that's putting a stop to our 3 week trend of an increase to purchase activity week over week that we had been seeing here in the new year. Now, when we switch perspectives and we look at the cost of a new mortgage, a 30-year fixed rate, we saw a very slight but continued improvement. Basically, they went from 6.20 on average to 6.19 on average, which is an improvement. It is lower. I mean, I'll take it. It's also a new, fresh year to date low, and also the lowest rate we've had since September 2022. So let's take what we can get. Another thing to note is that the entire month of January, the average interest rate improved each week. So let's hope we can continue with that starting out February. Now, looking back at last week, one of the most chilling things that we had to experience outside of the ridiculous weather is the Fed, and they hiked basis points another 25 basis points. I should say they hiked their federal funds rate another 25 basis points, bringing the range from 4.5 to 4.75. And that also means that the Fed has hiked rates 4.5% since they started doing this only in March of 2022. So that's pretty extreme. Jerome Powell also signaled that we aren't done just yet and that there will be two more rate hikes that he thinks would be appropriate, each at another 25 basis point level. He did start to acknowledge that inflation has been coming down. He said that recent developments have been encouraging, but also added that there's more work that needs to be done. He said the good prices are moving lower and that housing disinflation was in the pipeline, meaning that we have not yet seen the deflation from the shelter costs yet, but we will in the coming months. And, we were saying that same thing just a couple of weeks ago. Now, the next Fed meeting is March 22nd, and expectations off of Powell's commentary is that we should expect another 25 basis point hike and that they'll release some new projections at that time. Now, we've also got some new information regarding the jobs market and unemployment data. So I've got my good friend Justin Small here to help us break all that down and make some sense of it. Justin, why don't you take it away?
Thanks, Jake. This week we received the January jobs report with some very interesting information. Let's dive in. Remember, there are two surveys within the job report, the business survey and the household survey. The business survey is where headline job creation numbers come from and includes a lot of modeling and estimations. The household survey is where unemployment rates come from and is derived from calling households to see if they're employed. I think I got a couple of those last week. The household survey has its own job creation component and shows that there were 894,000 jobs created, while the labor force increased by 866,000. The result from this caused unemployment to decline from 3.5% to 3.4%. This is the best unemployment rate since 1969. While these figures appear strong, there were some massive adjustments in January. New seasonal factors, new benchmarks, and new population estimates were instated. If you look at the household survey, the number of jobs created would have been 84,000 versus 894,000 reported. Looking deeper at the face value, out of the 894,000 jobs created, 606,000 were part-time workers and 288,000 were full-time. We are continuing to see reported numbers on a decrease in unemployment, but when you think about it, there's kind of a common trend here, seeing employers hiring for most part-time over full-time. I'm wondering if that's something to keep an eye on for years to come. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Justin. We really appreciate all of that great information. And, that's certainly something we'll have to keep a close eye on. It's useful information to have, but, like you said, we don't really know exactly how that's going to play out. So we'll have to continue to keep our finger on the pulse. so to speak. Well, and the last thing we wanted to discuss this morning is a new report that we got from FHFA as well as the Case-Shiller Home Price Index report. Now, both of these reports are regarding home values and home appreciation. Starting with Case-Shiller, of course, because this is considered by most experts to be the gold standard for home appreciation. Well, this report showed that home prices fell 0.6% in the month of November. Now, keep in mind, this is always going to be a weak time for housing. Nobody wants to move in the winter, and so each year, we see that nationwide. Um, Seasonally adjusted for these numbers, home prices were only down 0.3%. Now, it's undeniable we're starting to see a softening in housing prices a little bit, but they're still up 7.7% on a year-over-year basis. Now, the pace of appreciation decelerated from 9.7 in the most previous report, and it was actually 20.8% at the peak in March of last year. But this does not mean that home prices are down 13.1% from their peak. It means that home price gains have slowed to 7.7% annually. Prices for homes have only declined 3.6% nationwide from their peak, and this is certainly a softening, but it's a far cry from a crash where we would see 20 to 30% declines. Now, when we switch gears and we look at the report we got from FHFA, that showed that prices were only down 0.1% in November and are up 8.2% year over year. FHFA shows that home prices are only down 1.2% from their peak. Now, you can interpolate based on the differences in these reports that part of the decline is because Case-Shiller is tracking all homes, whereas FHFA is only tracking conforming loan amounts, which are obviously not going to include, million-dollar plus loans. And also, higher priced homes have less demand. Additionally, there's likely to be cash discounts being offered. We've got less demand, so if you're a cash buyer in this market, you're going to be able to command a lower price, which is also why Case-Shiller is a bit lower. We also got a quote from the FHFA, which said that U.S. house prices were largely unchanged in the last 4 months and remain near their peak levels that were reached over the summer of 2022. While higher mortgage rates have suppressed demand, low inventories for home sales have helped maintain relatively flat housing prices. But as we've mentioned on here, and we all know in the business, when it comes to the spring market, we're going to start to see inventory levels rise. Now, we should also start to see home buyer demand rise as well. So we'll have to see which one of these is going to outpace one another and what type of market we'll be gearing up here for in the spring and summer of 2023. But that's the value of these videos, right? We don't know what's going to happen. Nobody has a crystal ball. So we're going to look at the market data each week, dissect it for you as best we can, and bring it to you here each Monday. So we hope you enjoyed. We hope you'll continue to tune in here for more of The Bottom Line.